identify the harvest and our anticipation of what's going to occur with that, the spread weeks, and the sizes. And all three of those are accessible from the driver's screen. But typically, you start with the harvesting when you're entering one. And you'll see at the top it has the same information. We have changed it a bit to have tree fruit so that you can say the commodity type of format. Because tree fruit, as most of you know, can be picked over many, many weeks, whereas maybe some row crops are only picked in 3 to 4 week segments. So we had to find an opportunity way to be able to look at that harvest schedule that might cover 30 or 40 weeks for a particular tree fruit. So we have our grower and our entities set up, and currently the crop planning requires you to also have a section set up. And so you can see here that we have like grower brown entity 1, and we have section 1 and 2. And these sections are actually broken out based on agriculturally where maybe your rows are, where you might have different sections that you work on specifically inside of the orchard. And then, of course, you key in the acres. The acres, when you key it in here, updates the grower entity master. The bloom date would be the date that you first start seeing the blooms on the trees, and typically that tells the folks that are going to be doing the estimating from a bloom date. You can estimate when harvesting might begin. All things being equal, it's always an estimate. How many weeks does it take to grow once the bloom date's occurred? You key that in. How many bins per acre do you anticipate receiving? And I don't know if this is even close to a reality number, but this is just our demo data. And in this case, I am only doing a spread of 6 weeks, but you can go up as many weeks as you need to. And with this information, the system then calculates the beginning harvest date and an ending harvest date.
Pat, the spread weeks indicate the spread weeks indicate which what date we start and what date we end harvest.
Right.
Okay. Great.
The system looks at the dates and then accumulates them based on the weeks, 7 days a week, and comes up with it. So if you have 30, clearly your ending harvest date is going to be, somewhere in January or February.
But
not in October.
Based on the bloom date of 5/5 and the growth weeks of 20, it did the calculation and said your harvest date is beginning on 9/24, and the 6 week spread puts it out to 10/29.
Exactly.
Got it.
Okay. The little asterisks under weeks and size are indicating that I've already filled information in here. So if I were, starting on this and coming back later, I'd say, gosh, where did I leave off at? At least you'd have some visual perception of where you need to continue at. So we're going to go next to weeks, because that's really the next thing to do is we'll look at our spread weeks, and that's F8 down here. And you'll note that I have 2 that I don't have any kind of total in, and that's because I wanted to show you how it puts together the percentages. So it brings forward all the information from your first screen that's useful in looking at the acres, the bloom dates, the growth weeks, etc. And if I go in here to my 2008 top line and do a select, I get a drop down that shows us the weeks based on what we calculated from our previous screen. And then I can start filling in percentages of saying I'm going to harvest 10% of the crop the first week, maybe 20% the next week, 30%, et cetera, et cetera. And if I press enter now, I get a little warning that says, oh, hello, you're not at 100 yet. So we have to continue going on. And now I went too far, and it says, oh, look at here, now you're above 100, so we have to stop that. And it won't let you out of the screen, so you're either at 100% or you have nothing. It's one of the two. And I did not hit enter on purpose, but that would then come up to 100%. So we would know our percentage. So we know our bins that we're going to get per acre. We now know the percentages that we commonly find in harvesting on what we do for a schedule of picking. And then we go on to a size distribution. And on here, it brings in not only our growers, our entity, our sections, but it brings in all the weeks for harvest dates that we've already accumulated based on our spread weeks. And then you can put in the percentages that you anticipate will be broken out once you do the harvesting and you do the packing. These are the type of size distributions you anticipate. And if I have a screen where I had nothing filled in here, I could do an F1 to duplicate percentages so that I don't have to key it all the way through. It just lets you continue right through. And the one other thing, this pretty much then creates all the data that's in the background for accumulating all the calculations in terms of the volumes and the spread weeks and the size distributions that you're going to be having. So one other thing I wanted to show you on this, on the harvesting, is that we also have this F2 down here that shows the actual estimate. And what this does is, as bins are received into the harvesting receiving option, it tracks that so that you can see by grower, this is what I actually received in, and here's what I've estimated, so I have this many left that I'm assuming is going to be picked for our volume.
The sales guys would drool over that. They bitch about that all the time.
As all of you probably know, I'm just going to jump over here real quick. This is the receiving inquiry screen from what's received in from your bins, and it shows the quantity received in. So it matches up with what we see over there on our crop planning. So when we finish the crop planning entry, then the next part that we go to then becomes the delivery schedule. And the delivery schedule breaks out, of course, by district type of variety and a particular revision that we'll find. And we're on revision 2. And I'm going to pick a date from our schedule that we had. And you'll note that you see all of the dates once again for the schedule that we had that started up with our crop planning. Over here, the asterisks tell me that in this case, I have not done my work in this particular area, so I haven't finished all the work that's behind this delivery schedule. The published date was if you save a delivery date and then choose to have it emailed to people in your organization, that would be the published date here. And you can see I haven't saved this into a saved version because of being able to do the demos. When we go into the delivery schedule,
Hey Pat,
it brings
Pat,
up, yep.
The term delivery in this whole what used to be the FDS system, delivery to the packing house?
Yes, sir.
All right, just for clarification, because I'm sure there's 6 people scratching their heads right now. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So based on our crop planning for 2008 and our Red Delicious, and one of the harvest weeks is being August 30th, I can see that I have my grower top line that's going to be the only grower I have in this particular demo that's going to be delivering fruit in, or we anticipate delivering fruit in on this particular week. And the size distribution of bins comes in here based on what we said the volume, the bins per acre, the acreage would be, and based on the spread weeks. So all the calculations are going on behind the scenes to let us see what it is based on this particular week with all of the weighted averages that would have to occur. You'll also notice that down in this section,
Different part of the system, but
we
yes.
see tray packs in bulk. And in the Variety Master, there's a section in the Variety Master where you can set up conversions so that there are X many tray packs to a bin, or bulk becomes the bins. One becomes your standard, whichever one you choose to create as a standard, and then the other calculations based off of that standard. So you can multiply like 1.25 or 15 or however you need to, but you set it up in the Variety Master so you can get a conversion factor of what you believe will be other quantities that are used in the industry to look at your volumes that are being harvested. And Stan, as you pointed out, this is to deliver to packing houses. And in this case, we have 4 different packing houses that are associated with this particular item, the reds. And I can allocate it to each one of these, or I can send 100% of the product to one particular packing house. And again, it's an estimate. This one also, the delivery schedule can be saved and have revisions on it independently of having crop planning revisions. So if the crop planning is still good, but you know, you're changing around which packing houses you want to send the fruit to or the percentages of them, you can come into the delivery schedule and make new revisions at any point. So I'm going to go over here, and then the next part of what it does is then it also looks at the grade where we've had all of our varieties. Then we also have them set up by grade because not everything's going to come in at the highest best. Wish they did, but they don't. So you can establish a percentage of how you think your pack-out's going to be between grades. And you'll notice here again that we have a toggle switch, because right now we're just showing the total there, and we can then flip it to see the bins. I can flip it to the bulk, so I can toggle through the different conversion quantities that we have already established. If I choose to save it, sorry. Now, oh, I'm in display mode, so it won't let me save. You save it, it would have a new revision on it, and you could add any comments that you wanted to on why you're doing that. And that's the real nuts and bolts of the FDS system. It seems very easy to enter, but of course there's a lot of work to get it taken care of. And as you can see, there's a publish here, a number 7 option to publish this so that everybody in the company can be aware of what your latest, most updated version is.
Where does that go for them to be aware of that?
Well, it looks like there's an option down here for emailing. Hey Pat, when you
it does not update. It does not update the production plan. All
right, you mentioned the publish. That's just a flag in the system. It's been agreed upon, or you've worked your numbers the way you want, so you're going to publish this. And then you had a separate option to do you have a separate option to do an email to whomever you choose?
Yes.
Okay.
On this screen, which was the original, this was pretty much the screen that you saw many years ago. The daily tracker is extremely specific to the pineapple because it was putting together the schedule of what are they going to be packing based on the crop plan and the delivery schedule and the vessels. So, and the vessel schedules that they have. So it is very specific to that. And no one since then has tried using it.
All right. And what's the activity planning?
The
Sorry.
active planning, that's okay, I'm going there next.
Yep.
Thank you. The activity planning is to allow the folks that are doing the farm care to perhaps put through a budget on what kind of activities do they need to do with the materials during the system, during the upcoming season or throughout the year. And actually, I think I might go to, let's see. Yeah, that's the one. In this case, and I'm going to show you the driver screen first, what it does is it picks up the information based on my revision 1. It's in the crop planning, you'll notice. If you don't have a crop planning set up, this doesn't have any data to go find it. It's correlated into your crop planning. Close that down real quick. And you all may or may not have noticed in your grower entity master, there's an area down at the bottom of the screen that says that you can set up harvest sections and irrigation sections. And it is kind of more work than a lot of people have been used to, but if you had a particular section in your grower entity field and you harvest out of certain sections, but yet your irrigation lines cross over a particular section, that's why the irrigation sections are set up differently. There, so that you can track expenses and timing of irrigation differently than the type of expenses that you want to track for what's required to, say, put fertilizer down or fungicides, etc. Again, the acres show up, and this has not been changed verbally. What we have to do is, because this is Red Delicious, we changed this to bloom date. We need to be able to do that. Force date was from the pineapple side, and that's not really a required field for most other commodities. And our estimated harvest date's in here again.
I'm sorry,
And,
Pat. Did you, the force date? They had some way to make the pineapple ready to pick. I forget. They put some
that's what they did.
not pesticide, but they put some chemical on it.
They had a chemical application that actually forced it to mature faster than it would ordinarily.
All right.
And that's how they try to adapt, if you will, their harvesting and review based on what their sales were going to be.
Okay.
So that it all would come in at one time.
Got it.
I'm not sure too many people have that luxury.
All right.
The application category here is a master file, as is the task, and I'll show you those master files. And this is where we can have the folks who work with the fields and the applications to set up types of tasks. And you'll notice that there's effective date ranges because you may have different date ranges depending on the season and the different uses that you would have. And in it, you just set up what kind of category is it, what kind of application am I doing, and what kind of billing code. And we'll look at the billing code master file in a minute because it's kind of unusual to folks the first time through. But really what it is a way to group tasks that are occurring in the field and put account numbers to them so that when you use the farm management system, you can actually update your actual expenses in the GL and farm management at the same time. You'll see that it has an opportunity to say, is this an irrigation task or not? And how many days after the plant date, and in our case it would be the bloom date, would we want to have this application begin? And after that, how many days rotation do we need? And in this case, you can see that fertilizer, you take part of what's in your material master and you identify what chemicals are included in this type of application. It's kind of like a bill of materials accepted for chemical applications and tanks. So this is based off of the material master. Yes.
I'm sorry, Pat. Did you say this? Did you say the same materials master or a separate materials master than the bill of materials?
It's the same materials master. master. Materials master is a shared file.
Okay.
And when we set up, and you may remember this, and go over here to the master file real quickly. Oops, sorry. When we set up farm management, a lot of these files are shared with the regular sales and operations files. These are the same exact files, but they're put on a different menu because folks that are working primarily with farm management don't want to have to go all the way through sales and ops, and you may not want them to for security reasons. So these are the master files that would be associated with all of the either commodity forecast system or farm management.
You can ask.
So you can see the grower entity master is here, the location master is here. If you update here, it updates to the same FRGRE file that it does in sales and ops. Same with the location master. The billing code master is unique to farm management. It's not in sales and ops. And this is user defined by setting up a billing category and a billing function. And you can see kind of by our example here that we kept the category of 3 for our bloom and pre-bloom, but yet the functions that occurred during that time period, we have different functions that are occurring. And again, you can see where we set up the account numbers that can be utilized with the journals, and you indicate what type of charge it is. Does it require an entity? This is specific to farm management again. Are we needing pieces? And when we go over the farm management section, we'll be using billing codes again. And we can go through all the different areas of it. But as you all know, in labor, sometimes piece work for harvesting or doing hand work in the orchard requires people to be paid based on pieces, not hourly. This also indicates when we're entering the information, do I have to add a tractor when I'm using this billing code? Do I have to use a sprayer? And is this a fertilizer application? And specifically, a couple of the clients wanted to keep track of fertilizer applications differently than any other. And of course, Maui wanted the person. The one that we just looked at was the planning application master, and then hierarchically what we do is the same as how you build like the bill of materials. You first have the application, then you have a task that can accumulate, and this is a higher level, so that if you do reporting, you could do reporting just on insecticide or herbiciding, and then you have all of the tasks that were put in right alongside of it. And then this one, of course, marries all of that information together, like we just said a minute ago. And pretty much in a nutshell, that is our FDS. There was, and just to go on just for just a tad bit more, there was some work that was begun that using crop planning delivery schedule could update files that could then look at a packing house and hours and labor requirements and that type of thing, but it was never completed.
Okay.
Any questions?
Do I have access to this all through the generic menus then, right?
Yes. Now when you're set up, I'm sorry, Kathy? As I say, yes, you have access to that.
Okay.
Or your main menu.
Got it.
One of the things that you might want to do that when you do, to see the farm management sections, make sure this says yes.
Got it.
If this is a no, the grower won't show up in farm management.
All right. as fate would have it, we're going to talk about farm management tomorrow.
Right. I just wanted to let you know that it wouldn't show up on either case.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm sure I would have been banging my head up against the wall.
Yeah. The crop planning currently, I think I mentioned this because it is a little extra piece. There's in our master files, there's a grower master new section, yes or no. And most everyone is currently set at a no as far as I know of. But the crop planning requires a section to be turned on as a yes. So that's one of the things that you'd want to be able to do.
All right.
And you may want to, if you're going to play with that, I would recommend, something you would do this, play with it in text.
Right.
Just make sure it doesn't adversely affect anything, anything else.
Right.
Well, come on, Kathy. We like adventure. We're going to do it live and see what happens.
Oh.
You just don't want the phone call.
We don't need any more craziness.
Oh, come on.
We got to get ASF. We got to get ASF approved. Roy, at least wait till cherry season's over, okay? Yeah.
Where'd your adventure go? Come on.
Kathy, I wouldn't even let Roy give me a live user ID until at least I was here for, 6 weeks or something?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go anywhere near it.
Oh. Yeah.
But I have one now, so I'm dangerous. But no, this is the session. Here we go again. These sessions are what I need. I'm being very, tunnel vision right now. But so that I can get, back into the test environment and start playing with how I see them potentially wanting to move. And farm management and crop planning is a huge piece of the pie that they're not even messing with at all. So I totally forgot about FDS. I would have asked for it, weeks ago. But what's it called now? I'm sorry, Commodity Forecast System. And it looks good.
Right.
Looks great.
Okay.
Hey,
Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
Roy?
I got two. I saw where it was spreading out of the bin. Were you doing that manually? Like, if we receive a bin of fruit, it typically has the different sizes in it. Were you doing that manually, or is there a way to automate that?
The size distribution was for the planning portion of it. I did by putting in those percentages. The
Okay.
actual receipts are based on what you actually in the system when you do raw receiving.
Okay.
But you keyed in the percentages by size. Yes, I keyed in the percentages because and I can't answer this for the apples per se, but I know in citrus, like the percentage changes based on the harvest week. At the very beginning, of course, the size distribution is skewed to the smaller size grapefruit. And then if you get to about January, now you have a lot more of the larger size. And so it's allowing you to estimate based on what you know inherently is a size distribution based on the time of the season that you're harvesting.
Now, I always keep going back to this module because I think it's kind of cool, but I want to figure out how we could ever integrate it. There's the one module that I believe was developed for Calavo. It doesn't tie to production scheduling directly yet, but you can go in and look at, okay, for the last 4 weeks, what have we packed out for these? Or, what has this grower had, if I'm remembering correctly? I wonder if there's some way to tie those two together, because typically each year, ours doesn't really jump that much other than by season. So, typically it's about the same each year, unless there was a weather event that caused the fruit to be larger or smaller. And, we could shift it back and forth. But I love that little module that you can kind of go put in, hey, I'm going to receive 500 bins. Give me what I've received the last 4 weeks average and spread it that way or something. Am I thinking the right way, or am I off in left field?
No, you're remembering right. That was that packing estimate generation.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's over on the pack out menu. where you can X number of bins, and it has the ability to go back and look at a particular date range, or go back X number of days to look at the actual and create the estimate based on actual.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. That's a cool little tool. We just need to get that. If we had that tied into this, where I receive 1,000 bins from Crazy Rapids, tell me what I've received last year during this time frame, or the last 4 weeks what I've been receiving for reds out of other people. That would be a great asset and tool to have, as well as I think that'll be useful for production scheduling as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then,
but yeah, we can take some of that logic, Roy, from that, and add an option to the commodity forecast to get you your grade and size, distributions based on actual. And we could do something like that.
Okay.
A lot of times when you're receiving, though, you don't have any actuals yet. All you have is last year.
Right.
Go
That's
off
true. So you have to look at last year.
Look at last year and then modify from there. Is there a function to kind of roll over your seasons? Basically, just copy everything, so you don't have to rekey everything. Just modify.
That's what that copying piece is for. When we were here, now let me go back to the one I was most recently in.
But you can't mass copy like your whole thing rather than going copy.
No, this copies everything that I already have. And see where it has new plan season?
Yeah. Okay.
So
Cool.
it updates it to say plan season 2009. It brings forward all the growers and the entities and the varieties and all that information.
Does it change the dates to the new year? Like your harvest date and your...
To be honest, I haven't done that one in a while, so let's take a peek. So, I read it once because of the, although I don't see why we couldn't change it eventually, but because your bloom date is still from last year.
Okay. The date you're always probably
But,
gonna have to-
if we can come up with a logic that says if we're starting a new season, to reset that bloom date and just add a season onto it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if it needs to change from May 10th, it can change to May 15th or whatever you need it to do.
What would be really nice is if you could say you want to roll forward your year, but you want to set your bloom date maybe, let's say, 1 week earlier, because usually you have an early feeling of it's looking like we're going to be this much earlier this season. So at least it initially sets it at that, and later on you can go modify it. But be kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good idea.
Or say set the date 7 days previous to last year's date with the new year.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe an option that says it's either early or late, and then how many days or something like that. Yeah, that would be nice.
And then, like you said, it's nice because as we're receiving fruit in, then it would tie back to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions?
Not in this conference room. I don't know if anybody else out there's got one. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hold on a sec.
Okay.
You guys want to be gutsy enough to ask for a different time each day?
It
Remember
really
the 3 hours.
It's really hard when I can't see any of the cherry meetings.
All right. Well, here's your chance.
I'd ask for 11 Dan.
Oh, really?
But we can't.
Hey, Kathy,
Yes, ma'am.
could you guys look into seeing if there's another time that might work better to have these meetings? Because 10 o'clock kind of conflicts with our cherry meetings that are at 10:30, so we're kind of out of the loop on that.
Okay.
Either earlier or later. You guys can
What-
talk about it. Just get back to us and see if
Yeah.
you can find
Well-
a time that might work better.
Yeah, even 11 o'clock our time, so just an hour later, because normally the cherry meetings are 10:30 to 11.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay.
That'd be perfect. We'd appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at that and get back to you. Look at the schedules and
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow then. I'll email you if we can start later,
Got it.
and then let you know.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.